But then when we're getting the band together, this is so-and-so whoever the hell of Planet Who Gives a Shit, and he's important to our cause. And guess what? He's on the team. He's ready to go fight for these people who he has no idea who they are.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Tardy to the Party, aka T3P. I'm your boy Jsib, joined by, as always,
I'm KP.
Of course, us two hooligans always talk about mainly geek stuff, as the holy trinity of pop culture: Marvel, DC, and Star Wars. But we dabble out.
I believe it's a nerd culture is the preferred terminology here.
I use both. I embrace both.
I associate being it. No, I don't. I'm lying. Never mind. I'm lying. I'm totally lying. I was about to say I associate being a geek as being smart. I don't. I also use the terms interchangeably. Let's be honest.
Well, we got Zach's back, baby. The Zach is back. Number one movie worldwide right now.
I'm not gonna lie. Reading that Rotten Tomato stupid bot review comment, I cannot stop smiling, laughing, and I will now always refer to him as Wacky Zacky. I read that comment on this review or on the Rotten Tomato user, and I was just like, God damn, that's such a troll, and it's so funny, and I just love that nickname.
Wacky
Zacky, back at it again.
So before we get into spoilers, KP, what's your general thoughts of Rebel Moon Part 1, A Child of Fire?
My general thoughts is it's glaringly obvious where edits were made to make it PG-13. The movie is not as horrible as critics made it out to be, but it has but its overall development and how this part 1 flows, it's like, well, this movie isn't great either. It's like, I'll just say my score, which this is kind of jumping ahead of how we usually do it, but I will say it's pretty much right on a 7 out of 10 for me. And I'm really thinking that when the director's cut comes out, it's going to be just like Justice League, and I'm going to be like, oh, now this is way up here. I really hope. Like, I really hope. And is it terrible that rated R violence is probably going to give it that jump? Sure, in a sense. But, like I said, there's just it's just from the beginning of the movie. It's just like, oh, well, this part's going to be amazing. Like when we get the real cut. So that's my general takeaway. What was your general takeaway? You're the diehard Snyder fan.
I'm the Snyder
you love
cultist,
all his movies.
I'm the non-toxic Snyder cultist, some call me,
Dr. Pepper. Calm down, people.
Dr. PP. Can't wait for the director's cut. I agree. Glaringly obvious. There are we can get to it spoilers, but yeah, there are definitive like frames in this where I look and I go, there should be blood something. There's nothing. And then even in a frame afterwards where it shows the back of said person, there's nothing still. It's like they didn't even try to hide the fact of like, yeah, no, this isn't the real version.
Exactly.
Like, and we're not going to waste the budget on even making it try to look even PG cool or PG-13 cool. We're just going to just not do anything to it.
Yeah,
put all the budget into the director's cut.
Yeah, there's specifically two parts where it's like, huh, there should probably be blood there. There's not, but
Yeah.
we'll for sure be getting it. I would
Um.
hope we're getting it in director's cut.
Oh yeah. I would almost. I'd bet money. But I feel like I'm gonna talk more issues than I will positives. I am not one to complain of um. Of course, now I can't think of the fucking word. Uh, Jesus. Where they basically just talk and give you info bullshit. There's like a fucking word which I've been saying all week, ironically enough. Uh,
Like narration in a
yeah,
sense.
narration,
Basically
but
Anthony Hopkins' character.
well that, but the Korra does it too. Like exposition. Jesus fuck.
Oh, okay.
I am not one to complain about exposition because for whatever reason I see some people who review, and if there's like one fucking paragraph of exposition, they freak the fuck out and they're like, "Oh my god, terrible writing. You needed exposition." It doesn't bug me at all. I think exposition is fine here and there. This movie, there was a lot of exposition, a
Right,
lot,
and
to the point where it actually did bug me a little bit. To where I'm like, "All right, well, actually, show us. Like, don't just tell me. Like, just fucking show me." Which I imagine some of that stuff might get shown in the director's cut because maybe that's why there's so much of it, is because so much got cut out. I don't know,
yeah,
but
and the
took me out for
the
sure.
the expositions they have kind of. I was waiting until we got kind of more in our spoilery talk, but I was going to kind of go in the depth of like an issue where I have issues with the movie as a whole, and the expositions are part of that issue.
I say there's
I
expositions.
don't,
It feels like there's
but I
some
agree
like
with you.
plot threads concerning certain uh like team members that feel kind of rushed. There's especially one, but I kind of have a theory on that where it could make sense, but I still feel like that scene should have been fleshed out a little bit more. And no real spoilers, but it's the beginning scene with Jimmy and the girl, I'll say. Just there was something weird where just something kind of flicked real quick, and I was like, feel like that was rushed a little bit. But I also have a theory on maybe why it feels rushed and might not actually. But
Yeah.
um, action overall, I liked. I mean, if you don't like slow mo and slow mo bugs you, spoiler alert, you're gonna fucking hate this movie.
Right.
I don't
I'll,
mind it.
s- it's just I don't know what to say about it really, man. I I think I just have a personal issue with it just because I think I'm just getting over it. Like I know it's Zach's style, but
Mm.
I'm just I don't know. There's just times where I was watching the movie and I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of over that. Like I get it, but I'm just kind of over it. Uh
Yeah,
and that's more of a personal issue with me, just me, that's my opinion, that's how I feel. I'm not saying it's his style and
and I think that's maybe why it doesn't bug me, because I do love Zach's style of just shooting and framing, and I mean everything's very. He has a painter, like a painting background, like everything's very very painterly. Like you can take so many still frames of his movies and it looks like a fucking painting. Like, and I don't know. For me, it's very pleasing to the eyes to just watch his movie. Like you can dog on some of his writing if you want. I hear those, and I'm not gonna necessarily disagree with you. I don't necessarily think he's as bad of a writer as some people make him out to. But he's definitely dial. Much like we love George Lucas, dialogue's not always his best.
what are you
It's just
talking
not.
about?
I hate
What are you
sand.
talking about,
I
dude?
hate sand. It triggers me.
It's the
It's everywhere.
some of the best writing I've ever seen in my life.
um, But overall, the world I really dig. I really like. I want to see more of it. I know there's everybody and their mothers being like, "Oh, it's a ripoff of Star Wars, Dune, Harry Potter, Warhammer 40K." I mean, name a fucking franchise this movie apparently rips off of it. Just so you know. Everybody makes those
Well,
claims.
there was
That stuff doesn't bug me because guess what? I see that shit in every fucking movie I watch because I've seen enough movies that I'm like, oh, they pulled inspiration from this film to specific scenes where they have specific framing to pay homage and a nod to other movies that may not even be nearly the same movie, but people freak out this movie all of a sudden.
I don't know. I mean, there's really only two parts where I was like, okay, this is glaringly obvious this is taken from Star Wars. This is glaringly obvious that this was kind of taken from Harry Potter / Avatar. And those two parts are during the whole let's get the band together course of the movie. Which all of that in itself, I'm like, okay, what the am I, doing here? But
that to me, yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
pretty rushed.
You're right, and I think I see it from the side of what those people are complaining about because, well, I agree with you that, yeah, everything takes inspiration from something else for the most part. I mean, good guy, Star Wars is literally like, I mean, George Lucas read Dune and was like, "Hey, all this is cool, but I'm gonna change this and that, and I'm gonna throw in the plot of Shakespeare into it and make a space odyssey." Now, it's not glaringly obvious unless you were someone that read Dune or loved Shakespeare. Like, I didn't notice any of that stuff till I was an adult. But I think with this movie, it's just a lot of people are making those gripes because it's kind of like so obvious to them, is what I'll say about that.
Well, and it's also like open knowledge that this movie was originally supposed to be like a R-rated Star Wars movie. So I mean,
right,
that in itself, it's like, well,
and that's the other issue. Yeah, yeah, and that's the other issue, and why you're getting these complaints from people. I think is because they know that, and then they just want to complain, just be like, oh, he's still just made it just like it just ripped off Star Wars. Like, I don't know if maybe they were just like thinking like, oh, well, since it's no longer a part of Star Wars, it should be something else entirely. But I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah, but
got no clue. But
I guess since you gave your rating, I will give.
Yeah, for sure.
Actually, lower than you. I'm a 6. Go even 6, and I'll start giving you even scores from now. I'm still gonna do halvesies.
I mean,
I won't do any of the 8
oh,
3s,
yeah,
the 6 1s, the the 7 9s, nothing like that.
Yeah.
I'll keep it simple. I might even change to a letter grade eventually. Never know.
Ooh, letter grades.
Be like, see, this is where I gotta fine tune it a little bit. Like, so now the converging here, like, that make this a C plus? Me, it feels like a C.
I will say that I feel like my 7 out of 10 is being generous. Like, I've got to say that. Like, I am giving it a 7 out of 10, but I will say a lot of me still kind of feels like that's pretty generous, just because, again, I didn't hate the movie.
I mean, did you have a good time?
Kinda. I won't lie, dude. I mean, the whole montage of let's get the band together, I was sitting there like, the fuck is all this? I was like, hey, I don't know. It just felt like, okay, like you said about the expositions. Okay, so we get some exposition for the main character, but then when we're getting the band together, this is so-and-so whoever the hell of planet who gives a shit, and he's important to our cause. And guess what? He's on the team. He's ready to go fight for these people who he has no idea who they are. I mean, shit, man. Like, at least with the... at least with the actual, like, the rebellion, the rebels of the story at the tail end of the movie, at least there was some point there that made sense where the two players were like,
Mhm.
ha, fuck you guys. No, we're not helping you. Who the hell are you? And they were like bouncing. You know, I mean, at least you had some of that. I don't. It's just, oh man. Now I'm getting into my negative thoughts about this movie because
I will
I
actually.
just
We
I just
can't
got a
just get
lot to
into
say.
spoilers, and I will piggyback off of your last point to lead into the spoilers. Bang, it's up. Um, realize this. During when they are getting the band together, uh, there's two characters back to back. I think it's after the prince. They get
Okay.
the prince, and they're like, she literally tells him, "Well, don't do it for revenge. Like, do it for something else." Like, I can't remember what her reasoning was. And I was like, all right, whatever, cool. The very next person they recruit, the captain, do it for revenge. I was like, what?
Right.
I was like, what?
Yeah.
You can't put
Yeah.
those two back to back. I was like, you can't.
No.
Not gonna
It
sneak
was
that
the
by me. Like,
it was the it was the like bionic chick that has basically like, if you will, the lightsabers that aren't just the swords, but
yeah, kind of the
I think
magma
it was
swords.
her. I think it was her. She makes the point of I think it was her because then it goes to the captain. I think it was her that's like, you shouldn't do this for revenge, and our main character's like, yeah, totally agree. Yeah, this is for whole other reason. Very next character, the disgraced general or whatever. Do it for revenge. Yeah, I heard that. I was like, wait, what the fuck? I was like, oh yeah, oh yeah.
um,
I actually kind of forgot about that.
yeah, that, and then the other, the scene with Jimmy that I was alluding to with the somewhat of a theory, is when he gets told to go like wash himself off, and he's going to clean himself, and then Sam, Sam I think is her name, um, the girl that comes and like puts like a flower on his head or the crown of flowers on his head or whatever.
Okay.
They made it a point where he was like really really like drawn to her, and like you got a little bit of his backstory and how after the king and queen and daughter fell, they put down arms and never fought again. The lore behind Jimmy and the Jimmies, I think, is cool, and I think is actually probably, if you want to like be that guy, is probably the most original plot in this whole thing so far. Maybe that's why I find it most intriguing. But um,
Right.
the theory that I have is, I think the reason he is so drawn to her just automatically, and it feels kind of rushed, is because I think she actually is the daughter. I think that I
Maybe
think Cora basically killed the king and queen and then took the daughter with her because she was the personal bodyguard to the daughter. And
that would,
I
I
think
guess that,
Jimmy like kind of like recognized, because she's got like blonde hair, blue eyes, same as little girl did.
yeah,
That's my theory.
I kind of like that, but all right,
But,
we're in spoilers, right?
oh yeah, oh yeah.
I kind of like that, but I think the problem I have with that is that Cora is trying to leave the planet in the beginning, and if that's the case, she knows those soldiers were taking Sam, is the girl.
I think that was her.
Well, they're taking the girl to rape her in the barn. And it seemed like Cora was kind of like on a fence between, okay, do I give a shit or do I just get out of here?
Yeah, that's true. Also, there is
Also,
there's
that
another
barn
hole in my
scene,
theory too, because they said she crash landed, and that
right?
the head farmer like found her. There was no mention of a girl being. So
Exactly.
it
Yeah,
probably
but
won't hold true. But anyway, sorry, the barn scene.
No, just so from what I said earlier in the non-spoiler, the barn scene was where immediately watching this movie, I was like, oh, this is glaringly obvious how violent this whole sequence is supposed to be. Like, I was literally like getting it in my imagination as I'm watching it. I'm like, there's blood there, there's blood there, there's blood there. I was like, but I mean, like you said though, it was very clear that they just cut that out. And I'm like, from that moment, I was like, yep, kind of wish I just had the unrated cut right now. Like, from the get go. I was like,
I mean, and then even at the end with
yeah.
Charlie Hunnam's character, where he gets shot under the chin with that spike gun, and just nothing. And then when he falls down, you see behind him too, and there's nothing. It's
Yeah.
shame Charlie. He's just sleeping. He
I'm,
just got knocked
yeah,
out.
I was gonna say, I'm sure in the director's cut, the top and back of his head's gonna be blown out. Like, when they,
Like, give us something. Like, there was nothing.
yeah. Um, so, speaking of Korra, my overall gripe with this movie is that it seems like this movie is like giving us this plot development and her background. Like uh, the guy that kind of sold out, I don't know, the dickhead from Ant-Man. God, the hell, I can't remember the actor's name, but that the villager, the leader, that's got the beard.
Oh,
It's the guy
okay,
that
yeah, yeah.
it's the guy that plays MODOK.
Is that really?
Yeah, same guy.
I didn't. He totally different.
Well, he's got a big ass, yeah, you know, but yeah, it's the same guy, same actor. Um, Look at me, I'm a dick. Yeah, same guy. It's the same guy. For all you out there. Anyways, the actor that betrayed him, the dude who plays, he's in Game of Thrones. Can't remember his damn name either.
Are you talking
Anyways,
about? Are you talking about? Are you talking about Puss Boy, the farmer,
yeah, the puss boy farmer
the
that
dude
doesn't know shit.
who literally
He's
is
just
just
trying
a
to make
pussy the whole movie?
the guy that's trying to make cut deal. That was trying to cut the deal. That was trying to cut the deal at the beginning.
Yeah, I
That
did
guy.
not. I didn't like that character.
Well, anyways, like from the get go, like Cora's like explaining her whole background, and I love that too. How like you get that her upbringing of like, oh, this guy took me in when they were ravaging my planet. You know, it's the whole Gamora story where, oh,
Basically,
this guy came in, he took me in, I went with him because whatever, I learned all their shit, and she's like, I'm only telling you this because this is what I would do. Um, I loved all that because we are getting a background to her character, but it's just like this movie again. Like, then once we get into this whole let's get the band back together sequence of events, they just like drop it entirely. They tease you like one more time when she brings up the story about like the daughter, and you know, apparently the daughter has the power of the living force and can bring stuff back to life and whatnot. And like that's all great, and we're getting all that story from her, but it just felt like then it just drops, and then
mhm.
we just get into this get the band back together moments, and then it's like just to get to a point to get to the end piece of the movie where they just have this battle on this floating oil rig, whatever. It's like Mustafar, but it's not Mustafar. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. I mean,
So that's like that's really my, like again, when I said I was being generous, 7 out of 10 score, I mean that's mainly because like the action is cool, but I do feel like kind of going lower, and that's like my main gripe of the movie is just like the overall like it's like the movie started great with its plot development and then it just seemed to just kind of abandon it.
I agree. I think it started off pretty strong. Well, I do like. I will say again. I think they did a pretty good job with the world building. interested in the world itself. It seems really but yeah, I agree. I think they came out of the gate pretty strong. I was kind of all about it, and then yeah, I think once it starts going to the well, let's go, you know, Seven Samurai or whatever, get all these people, random people together. Um, it it loses the plot. I can't like it feels super
it
rushed,
it
and
really is where the movie kind of lost me. I won't lie. I think I paused it a couple times and went and like did something around my house because I was like, okay, I'm struggling to get through this, and yeah. Anyway, yeah.
yeah, and it's just I feel like there we we didn't really get a lot of info about all these new characters until like the very end. We got another exposition dump at the very end. Like there's like, I can't remember.
The
Like
bad
there's some
guy
things that
walks
were like
around. The
there's some
bad
things
guy
that said it was
walks
like, oh, that
around
would
and
have been
he's
nice to know
like, "You're
earlier.
this." Yeah, that was the other. Yeah, you're right. The end. The bad guy gave you more info about all these people than you got in the when you first got introduced to him.
Yeah, so it's weird because it's like some of the characters I think are kind of cool, like Nemesis, the um lady with the magma swords. I think she's cool. But I don't know shit about her other than that she lost her child and her mission for a while was helping other mothers not lose theirs. It seemed like cool concept, but
Yeah,
other than that, there wasn't really
and that
anything
part
else.
too. And that was one part where I'm like, okay, this is clearly like you took this all from. I'm sorry, but the spider
Hmm.
coming down. I know you haven't watched it, but like, dude, that is straight up Darth Maul coming back in Clone Wars. How his brother Savage finds him. He's got a the half of his body is a literal mechanical spider, and it's like this same exact shit. Like Savage fell into some cave thing. He's like then in a big area, and he looks up, and like Maul like comes down like a creepy spider. And from that scene, I was like watching it, and I'm like, okay, yeah, you just ripped off Clone Wars. Like, I mean. Uh, and I'm not saying that to trigger anyone that's like kind of on your side. That's like, well, no, duh, no, duh, KP. It's you took inspiration. I understand that, but as I'm watching it and I've seen that before, I'm like, okay, bro, bro, like.
I
And
mean,
again, especially because I already knew this was supposed to be a movie in the Star Wars universe, and you got freaking swords that ignite on fire, basically symbolizing a lightsaber. So I'm connecting too much here, and I'm just like, okay. Like, I mean, it was a cool fight. Don't get me wrong. It was cool, but that's just one of my other gripes about it. Is like, yeah, that's glaringly obvious. You just took from that. But, she was cool, though. You're right. She was really cool. She was actually one that I really enjoyed. Uh, Crap.
it was really good hearing Ray Fisher's luscious voice again.
Dude, it took me a second to realize that was Ray Fisher. I was sitting there looking, I'm like, I know, I was like, I know that, I was like, this actor, I was like, and I
I
sat there, I
know
go,
him.
oh, yeah, I was like, I know him, and I sit there and I just go, oh shit, that's Ray Fisher's character, because I had known from looking at reviews, like seeing his name and
Hmm.
like the cast listing on like Rotten or IMDb, so it finally clicked. I was like, oh, that's him, and yeah.
I think he did a good
Uh,
job. I think him and his sister are like cool characters that they set up. I think they're.
and again, they
I mean,
made sense. Like they made sense. They show up. They got this whole armada, and they were basically like, "No, we're not helping. Who are you? Like other than again, like you
we're not
said, the
taking
whole
on a
seven.
dreadnought.
Right? Like other than like you said like the whole seven samurai are like it's like show up, introduce the character. Hey, gonna fight the evil galactic empire, impossible odds. You want to come? Yeah, sounds good. I'm there, bro. Like,
Fist bump.
you mean all I gotta do is ride this very dangerous griffin and I can be set free, but really I'm not free because I'm just really agreeing to go help you fight
Oh
the
boy,
dickheads of the galaxy. It, like,
you
I
reminded
don't
me of
know.
another thing I didn't like.
That
that
scene. I
that
mean,
scene
that
was
scene.
dumb as shit. Like that was some
It's the
Star Wars
beginning.
pod racing shit. Like,
Going through
oh
the
yeah,
canyon.
well, I'm a gambling man. Like, it's like, why? Why are you making this deal? Like, just...
I didn't even. I didn't. You know, it's funny. I didn't even make the Watto connection there with that guy, but I like when he's flying through the canyons and stuff. I was like, That's when the pod racing hit me. I was like, oh, this is pod racing. But again, also it's Avatar and Harry Potter because he's on a giant griffin and he's like connecting with the beast's soul, man.
Then I have a buddy that he called me and talked to me about it, and he was like, dude, they ripped off I can't remember what their name is, the Imperium or whatever from Warhammer 40K. He's like,
See, I don't know
he's
shit about that.
I don't either.
franchise, so
He was
you're
like,
gonna
they
have.
literally
Oh,
look the exact same. They're like the tie and then the white button up and then all like the coats and stuff. And
dude,
I was like, well, it's a cool fucking design, whatever.
that part was
Like
so.
clothing artists can only do like so much. Like eventually they're gonna run out of ideas.
Thought that was like so interesting that was the style they went for. Was like they didn't go for like they at least differentiated from the whole monotone, uniformed, like, oh, he's a higher up Imperial. Like in Star Wars, it's like they still all have the same, like, generic uniform. Like, at
Right.
least in this, like, when the guy was like, I need to do business, he's all like dressed to the nines in a suit and tie. I was like, okay, that's cool. It's totally cool. I don't mind that. He basically is trying to look like a Nazi from World War II. The description of his character fits, so why not?
Yeah,
You know, yeah. So
also
I,
inspiration from Star Wars.
true that. I was talking to a buddy. Speaking of the, whatever that guy is. He pointed out to me. I didn't really think this, but he said how he was like, dude, come on. At the end, when he's lying in the water, he's like, it's literally the same thing as when the Emperor goes to get Anakin. He's like, then they get him out. He's like, they hook him up to a machine, and then he's basically brought back to life. And I was like, you know, you're not you're not wrong at all. Holy shit, didn't make that connection.
Yeah,
But
they kind of set that up earlier when he was weirdly like doing. I couldn't tell what he was doing when he was like sticking himself with it. He was like, it was almost like he was doing drugs
dude,
or
I
something,
didn't,
like getting high, and then he
bro.
like walks over, and then the tentacles like all. I'm like, are we getting like
Right,
boys like
right.
the fish
I
guy
didn't know if
like the
I
squid?
didn't know if that scene was like I took it that way too. Like at first I was like, "Oh, that's like drugs or something." And then as that scene ended, I was like, "Oh no, he was having sex with an alien."
That's basically what it came.
Yeah, I was like, yeah. Wonder how freaky that's going to get in the uncut version.
Yeah,
Wacky
I'm a
Zacky.
little nervous about that. Apparently, yeah, violence and sex is prominent.
Well, that's his MO. Outside of just outside of what he made for Warner Brothers and the DCEU, it's kind of Zach's MO.
And the Owl movie, the Legends of the Guardians of Gahul or whatever
Oh,
it is.
I forgot that he did that movie, yeah. But 300 and this the sequel to 300 got some wild times, some wild moments in those movies.
Yep, great watching
But
that in high school for the. You see, Dave just fucking railing his wife, and they're like, "Oh Jesus, this is not the movies I remember seeing at home."
well, God, dude, the sequel,
Gerard
God,
Butler,
that
that's
one,
his name. Jesus.
yes, Gerard. Um, oh
Gerard.
man, but Rebel Moon, yeah,
Tune in for the director's cut review when that drops.
right, yeah.
Which I think doesn't drop. This is something that I think is kind of dumb. I think I heard that it. Although apparently they're going to drop close together, apparently, both parts of the director's cuts, but the director's cuts don't drop until after part 2.
Oh, I thought it was more. I thought it was goofier than that. I thought I saw where the director's cut for part one will drop like just before part two, but maybe I was wrong.
I would prefer that.
I would too. I mean, because
Just
part
one
two
that
doesn't.
it was like an
Because
interview with
what part
Zach, and his wording made
two?
it seem like it was going to come after part two had dropped, and it sounded like we were going to get both director's cuts of part one and part two pretty close together after that. I could be
Okay.
wrong. It just that's what it seemed like in the way he was wording it on interview. But I would prefer
But
your way. I would prefer to get it before part two.
yeah, I would too. I was actually kind of hoping because part two's not till what, April?
Yeah,
So, yeah.
April 19th, 21st.
Yeah.
I'll be there. Fuck it.
That's funny though that your buddy got the Warhammer thing. I don't know shit about that franchise, but that's funny. I just kind of saw the more glaringly obvious like takes from Star Wars.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know. The
Yeah, kind of how I felt. Just
but I
I
will
don't know.
say, I mean, I think though you're on to something though with your theory because that's where my again at the very end when he like God, I don't know what the hell all that freaky shit was with the put him into this crap and then his consciousness goes into this plane of existence where the big bad is and then
Mhm.
it's like, oh, the big bad is the guy that trained our main character.
Yep.
My theory is that like the whole reason her ship crash lands and they even released a trailer for part 2 already that I watched and it does seem like I would assume she probably rebels against him because he kills the king and the queen and I'm theorizing the daughter as well because that's the whole thing with the glow of that technology they were using to connect him to get to that plane of existence. It seemed like to be like that daughter's power and then like they brought him back to life. It
Mhm.
just seemed like that was like the daughter's power from that flashback scene. So my theory is that like yeah, that coveted general was probably wanting to have Korra at his side for when he killed the queen, the queen and the daughter, who ended up deciding, well, we're going to go soft now that we've conquered a lot of the universe. We're going to go soft now. But then he was like, no, screw that. Like, we need to rule everyone and everything. So my theory is that he got them killed, found a way to steal that daughter's power, if you will. That's how they can bring this guy back to life and presumably others. I assume we're definitely gonna get the end of the backstory from Korra and then the actor that even played the disgraced general, he even said that I think he came out and said, yeah, part 2 will actually give you the flashbacks of the seven, the band, whatever. So I think there's something to your theory there about something with the daughter. I will say at first I thought I was taking it the same when the Jimmy robot was talking to the girl Sam. I was at first kind of thinking like, well, maybe she is that character and that's maybe Cora like saved her by taking her there, who knows, whatever, but then like you said, I kind of thought about it and I was like, well, that one really makes sense with the beginning and also like they never said I mean, but also not saying anything about the girl being with Cora. It could just be misdirection. I don't know, but
Maybe.
yeah,
I do think either way. I mean, your theory makes a lot of sense too, as well as like the new head general or whatever turning on the king and queen and stealing
yeah,
I feel like the daughter has to still be alive somehow because that's such an interesting plot uh, thread for them to set up. The fact that
right.
the daughter has these powers, just for them to completely drop her as a character overall, it would just seem kind of pointless and just like, well, why even show us that she had powers if these aren't even really matter? Why not just say the king, queen, daughter died? It would just seem like an unnecessary plot point. So I do think she
Mm-hmm.
will come back, just however that is. I guess we'll see. Hopefully, we'll get answers in part 2.
Yeah.
Also, I secretly think Zack Snyder's trying to make TVs.
Wait, what?
I don't know. I feel like he's always trying. Like, it's weird. I feel like he's somehow trying to evolve what movies are now. I don't think it's to everybody's liking. But, like, with the 4-hour cut of Justice League, he was just like, bang, giving you the whole fucking thing. We're going to break it up into 6 parts. It's one movie, but you can watch it like a series. And then now he's got these now where it's like this didn't feel, and could be solved by the director's cut. This still didn't feel like a complete movie to me. And like, it just didn't, like, it is, but it didn't feel like a complete movie. So it's like, I wonder, since they're labeled part 1 and part 2, if like once you get those two, it feels more cohesive. And I wonder if it's going to feel more like a long kind of hybrid TV series in a way, more than it will feel like a movie trilogy, if that makes sense. I think it's supposed to be, plus apparently spin-offs. We'll see. But just a theory, because and this could be just me being hopeful, because I feel like movies need to evolve somehow, because I've been saying for 10 plus years now that the best writing comes out of TV and not movies for the most part, because you just have so much longer to tell a story.
Yeah.
And that movies need to figure out a way to adapt from what they are, because everything becomes, when you only have an hour and a half to maybe 3 hours max to tell a story, eventually there starts to be loops, and you just start catching on tropes. There's only so many ways you can write a story within that time frame. When a TV series, you have almost infinite possibilities to go anywhere with it, because you have that potentially, especially compared to a movie. That's the Snyder Cultist coming out.
There you have it, folks. I think you're onto something there. Maybe he's trying to say this is how Zach's trying to save Hollywood.
But
He's gonna
also
try
not,
to
because they didn't give it like a
change the
theatrical release,
game.
really. It was very, very limited. I don't even
I
think it
know,
actually like
stop.
counts as a limited release, because it wasn't even in enough theaters to be considered a limited release.
Yeah.
Netflix just throwing away money. I don't understand this concept of, I don't get it.
I don't either, man. But
Apparently they know. Their bookkeepers know, you know. Do they? Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. All right, KB, where can the people find you? We got to move on to Aquaman 2 after this. Where can the people find you?
You can find me on most of my socials at Politesk. There's an 18 for my Instagram because I couldn't change it to that. It was already taken. Hopefully soon to be updated Twitch name. That's a whole thing because Twitch and the way they handle their usernames. So I've just got a crummy one for now, but links in the bio, baby. So yeah. So for now, just at Politesk.
And of course, you can find me on Twitter, aka X, gonna give it to you, at Jsib20. Also on Twitch at Jsib20. Maybe eventually I'll post some YouTube. But throw that out there, and we'll deal with that later. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it for me right now. Yep. All right. We're on to Aquaman 2. We're on to the death of Snyder's old universe. All right. See you later.